we have officials at the Vatican announcing the death of Pope Francis. And this comes after he had battled double pneumonia for some 38 days. They say now that on Monday night, the rite of verification will take place. This is a point in which he will be placed in the coffin. The rite will take place in one of the Vatican's chapels, Casa Santa Marta. The relatives of the Holy Pontiff will be a part of this rite. They say on Wednesday, his remains will be placed in St. Peter's Basilica so that the faithful can say their last goodbyes. This opens the door for the final chapter in terms of the popes, the prophecy of the popes, and as you can see here, inside of the basilica, on the walls, there's one spot left. There's often been a lot of confusion around who's going to be the last pope and this and that, but I tried to put out a video about a month ago pertaining to this prophecy of the popes and some of the confusion that comes from this. And really, it comes from a misinterpretation of the Lignum Vitae, which it states in it, there is a small sentence that has often been put with Peter the Roman. And when they go back and they look at it, they're saying now they believe that it's its own separate paragraph. And the incomplete sentence explicitly refers to an additional pope between the glory of the olive and Peter the Roman. So you're talking about Benedict and Peter the Roman, which would point to Francis, although others were arguing and trying to say that whatever they believe in connected to Francis being Peter the Roman. Well, the final slot has to be filled regardless of what people want to call this and that. There's one spot left here, and it's about to be filled, and it makes for very interesting times. So I've got information on this on my channel, and join me for the live stream where I talk about this in greater detail. But this is the latest. This is Tabu 7. Peace.
Shalom, Akim, Shalom. First thing and foremost, I want to give all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim Kakodash. Double honors unto the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone and rule well. Peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. News in the gospel, bro, lifting up the standard of Yahweh Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai, wherever they may be. This is another lesson through the Spirit, Lord's will to be edifying. This guy, Pope Francis. It says Pope Francis, first Latin American pontiff who ministered with a charming, humble style, dies at 88 years old. This devil. I mean, you can clearly look in the man's spirit and look at his countenance and know that he's not right. I mean, the Catholic Church have over so many thousands of rape allegations against minor children. It's not even funny. And yet these people, they get a smack on the wrist because they have what they call immunity. I believe when you go into Pope, it means like a father, if I'm not mistaken. But ultimately, they don't follow Yahweh Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai, nor the laws of the Bible, because they believe in a deity called Dagon, which is the fish god, which when you look at those particular garbs that they wear, it goes back into that Babylonian deity, and from the Assyrians called Dagon, which was actually a Hamitic deity. You know, a lot of these deities are just repackaged throughout history and reintroduced to us through modern day times, but it's all the same thing. But if you pay attention to him, he has an idol around his neck, and he got a bunch of Edomites around him, nuns, witches, you know, look like some shit from the Conjuring universe. He's out of here, man. And no, he's not burning in hell. He's not in torment. You know, he's not down in hell with Satan, but in fact, he's at rest in the spirit world awaiting his judgment. Because if he is a Edomite, which it says the first Latin American, which, you know, they use that term loosely because a Latin American could be another way of saying conquistador, which a lot of those conquistadors and Spaniards were small hats, or crypto small hats. So he made, and a lot of them popes are actually Amalek, man. Okay, quiet as kept. But anyway, it says here, Pope Francis history, first Latin American pontiff, which, I mean, he looks like the other 40 or 50 of them. I don't know how many fucking popes. It was probably like 50 of them motherfuckers. I don't know. But there's been a lot of popes throughout history, and they all look alike. And I wouldn't doubt if they were related. You know, I wouldn't doubt if they all was related through some type of bloodline ties. I don't know. It's been a while since I went into this pope history, which is really, he's really insignificant. But nonetheless, this is a an indicator that Esau's system is falling, and they're getting ready to ignite this one world beast system. Because when you go back into the false prophet, it goes back into the Roman Catholic Church, which springs all these other churches out. So your Methodist, your Baptist, your Episcopalian, your Presbyterians, your Methodists, what else you call your United Church, or your Baptist Church, all those churches, it all goes back to the Roman Catholic Church. Why Jake is fighting over this religion and what Christianity holds the truest sect, all of them are false. But anyway, it says here, who charmed the world with his humble style and concern for the poor, but alienated conservatives which critiques of capitalism and climate change, died Monday. He was 88, and allegedly we had the holiday Easter that took place yesterday, which, some brothers or some people are speculating that this can be a ritual. But it says the Vatican said Francis died of a stroke that put him into a coma that led to heart failure. But from what I can recall, I believe that he was getting plagued with spirits because allegedly some portal opened, or he opened a portal with some shit, and he's beginning plagued with demons. Now, I didn't look all into the account, into the history, because I didn't do the full research. But from the videos that's been circulating, allegedly there was some portals that was open, and allegedly he was plagued by spirits. Which, a guy looks like a demon. All right, he don't look upright. Second of all, he doesn't have a beard on his face. Third of all, he's not in the true faith. As the scriptures say, one faith, one Lord, one baptism, right? But anyway, it says, bells tolled in the Catholic churches from his native Argentina into the Philippines across Rome as news spread around the world. It says at 7:35 this morning, the Bishop of Rome, Francis, returned to the home of his father, and his entire life was dedicated to the service of the Lord. You're right. And of his church, Cardinal Kevin Farrell said from the chapel of the Dominion Santa Maria, where Francis lived. It says, Francis, who suffered from chronic lung disease and had part of one lung removed as a young man, was admitted to Gemelli Hospital on February 14, 2025 for a respiratory crisis that developed into double pneumonia. It says he spent 38 days there, the longest hospitalization for his 12-year papacy. So the Lord judges us. That's a painful way to go out. You got pneumonia, you losing a lung. That's ultimately judgment, because he wasn't upright anyway. It says he made his last public appearance on Easter Sunday. And one thing about Issachar, they all into their shit. They love their false deities. But it says the day before his death, to bless 1,000 people in St. Petersburg Square, drawing wild cheers from an applause. Beforehand, he met U.S. President J.D. Vance, performing the blessings on the same Loggia where he was introduced March 13, 2013 as the 266th Pope. But from his first greeting, it says from his first greeting that night, It says from his first greeting that night, a remarkably normal good evening to his embrace of refuge were downtrodden, and Francis signaled a very different tone for the papacy, stressing humility over hubris for Catholic Church, beset by the scandal of accusation of indifference. It says the Argentinian-born Jorge Mario Bergoglio brought a breath of fresh air into the 2,000-year-old institution that has been seeing its influence when during a troubled tenure of Pope Benedict, the 16th, if I'm not mistaken, whose surprise resignation led to Francis' election. But Francis soon invited troubles of his own, and conservatives grew increasingly upset with his progressive bent outreach to the LGBTQ plus Catholics and cracked down on traditionalists. When his greatest test came in 2018, when he botched a notorious case of clergy sexual abuse in Chile, and the scandal that festered under his predecessor erupted anew. So he wasn't right, man. Okay, because for one thing, the scriptures say, follow not a multitude to do evil. It says roles for women. It says, but he added women to important decision-making roles and allowed them to serve as lectors and acolytes in parishes. It says he let women vote alongside bishops. Periodically, Vatican meetings following the long-standing complaints that women do much of the church work and are barred from power. And see, that's the thing. Women is not supposed to speak in the church, so you was against the Most High, man. As the scriptures say that the sin of witchcraft, rebellion is just the sin of witchcraft. So this dude was rebellious as all hell. And he was not a man of the Most High at all. Okay, but no, is he in hell? No. Okay, so this is the book of Job 3, And I'm going to start at verses 11. It says, why died I not from the womb? And it reads, and it says here, why did I not give up the ghost when I came out of the belly? Because Job was catching hell. It says, why did the knees prevent me, or why the breast that I should suck? It says, for now should I have lain still and been quiet, and I should have slept, then I had been at rest, which proves that being dead, you're at rest. It says, with kings and councils of the earth, which built desolate places for themselves, or with princes that had gold or filled their houses with silver. It says, or as a hidden untimely birth, I had not been as infants which never saw light. So it just shows you that everybody goes to the same place, the spirit world, even though there's levels to it. And it was broken down that we are on the side where Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, and the devils, they go get their judgment, but they're not, the spirits are divided up into like particular peculiar spirits. And Esau, he's not with us, even though they're in the same domain. We're in the spirit world, there's different parts to it. It says, there the wicked cease from troubling, and there the weary be at rest, and there the prisoners rest together, and they hear not the voice of the oppressor. It says, the small and great are there, and the servant is free from his master. So he ain't in hell, man. All right, he's in the spirit world, he's got his judgment, and he's coming back as a slave, man. All right, because if he's an Edomite, he's through. If he's an Israelite, then he'll be okay, which they're saying he's from Argentina, but who knows, man. Okay, you got Esau, you got a lot of Amalekites in Central America. So let's go from here to the book of Habakkuk real quick, 2:18. And it says here, what profited the graven image that the maker thereof have graven it, and the multi-image that a teacher of lies, that the maker of his work trusted therein to make dumb idols. Okay, and this is nothing but an idol around his neck, and giving women clemency in the church and to speak up. That's not a woman's role to speak in the church. All right, and you're adopting and you're pandering to the LGBT community, which that's totally off according to the scriptures. Okay, Paul said, be ye followers of me as I am of Yahweh Shai. So how the fuck are you a man of the Lord? All right, it says, but woe to them that said to the wood, awake, and to the dumb stone, arise, and shall teach. And behold, it is laid over with gold and silver, and there's no breath at all in the midst of it. But the Lord is in his holy temple. Let the earth keep silence before him. All right, so there's no life in these idols that this man worship. All right, Job 21, and I'm going to start at verses, because these guys have long good lives, man. But this is the book of Job 21, and it says here in 7, it says, wherefore do the wicked live and become old and mighty in power? Because this man had influence, man. Okay, he was rubbing elbows with the elites, okay, because he's a lower level elite, and all those families are connected, man. Okay, because when you go into Revelation, the 16th chapter, it goes into the unclean spirits, which was inhabited by it says which was in and working the spirit of devils, meaning this Edomite, man, the elites. And you got the trilateral cities, the financial, the military, and the spiritual aspect. And he represents the spiritual aspect of it, man. And it says, their seed is established in our sight with them, and their offspring before their eyes. And their houses are safe from fear. Neither is there the rod of the Most High upon them. Yeah, because they're not in hell like us, man. Okay, we're in our condition of hell, and they are in their prosperity. It says, their bull genereth and felleth not, and that cow calveth and casteth not her calf. And they send forth their little ones like a rock, and their children dance. And they make the timbrel and harp and rejoice at the sound of the organ. And they spend their days in wealth, and in the moment go down to the grave, man. So, he lived a wealthy, prosperous life. Had all types of wicked. You already know the accusations of pedophilia was part of it, man. Because that's how these devils get down, because they believe in something called the highest form of magic, which is going upside a little boy's anal, man. Okay, that's a high level satanic deity on the left hand side, when they believe in going up inside kids' rectum holes, man. That black magic, and Aleister Crowley, he brought that out, the highest form of magic, and that's why they have all these kids, man. They snatch them up, and they're part of these trafficking rings. It goes back to the elites. All right, one last precept, and I end it. This is the book of matter of fact, and I ended Revelation 19. Yep, Revelation 19. And I'm going to start at verses 19, and I'm going to start at verses 19. It says, and I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on a horse and against his army, which is Yahweh Shai. And the beast was taken, and him the false prophet, which is the Catholic Church, that wrought miracles before him, which he deceived, and them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that had worshipped his image. It says these both were cast alive into the lake of fire burning with brimstone, and the remnant was slain with the sword of him that sat upon a horse, which sword proceeded out of his mouth, and all the fells were filled with their flesh. So whoever this next pope gonna be, his lot is gonna be the lake of fire. And with that, all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Lord's will, you are edified. To the next lesson. Shalom.